Another episode of Capron's Cabin. This week discussing WandaVision, episode 4. How's it going,
Well,
Capron?
it's going well. I'm very happy.
I would like to start off this trip to the cabin by saying
Yes.
to all the people who did not want to wait a couple episodes, fuck right off. Fucking told you so. Get at me,
Eh,
ya dumbasses. Welcome to how television works. Just fucking wait and you'll get your shit. Now that I got that out of my system. Capron,
yes.
as always,
Mhm.
starting it off, what did you think of episode 4 of WandaVision?
Well, like I said last time, I really needed them to, you know, get out of the formula. We needed an episode outside of the town in the real world, and I, I got it. That's what we got. It's it was one of those episodes where it's just like every scene um, kind of blows my mind with like, oh, implications. Oh, yeah. I mean, it starts with Rambo being regenerated from the snap, and um,
Actually, if you don't mind, let's start there real quick. Let's talk about the blip
yeah,
real quick.
yeah.
Because my biggest issue with the
Sorry,
blip,
Snap 3. I keep saying the snap. I'm always referring to Snap 3. I am Iron Man.
that seems great.
Yes.
Uh, there's a giant issue with the blip that Spider-Man kind of touched on, but I really don't
It's
like how
softball.
they handled. That's so Iron Man told Hawk to bring everyone back, but not change anything about the past 5 years, as we
Mhm.
saw from that hospital scene. That's not good.
I mean, it's good for story, but it's not good. Like, yeah, they done
No,
goofed.
yeah, real world implications. It's not good. First of all, not even talking about the obvious, like people have aged and moved on and stuff.
Mhm.
What if you blipped in a plane?
Oh no, planes crashed. Like,
So
there's
yeah,
no
if people
way.
showed up where they were in the air, which means when they blipped back, didn't they just fall
It's a
to their
raining
deaths?
day. Hallelujah. Yes, yes,
And
that
like,
is what
what if
happened.
you were like, I don't know, what if like you blip back while somebody had moved into your house and they were getting on, and you just
This
blip
is
back into your bed?
then you know
Or my favorite, what if you
that's why I
blipped?
sleep with my socks on. No.
What if you blipped while in the middle of a surgery and you just show back up and your body's open?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's the horror of this. Back in the, I think it was the '90s, there was a zombie film from France, and it wasn't a terribly good film. Like, it didn't really explore the concepts as far as you could, but it was called They Come Back, or The Revenants. And the whole premise of it wasn't like flesh eating zombies. It was just like, what if an entire generation of dead people came back, and all of a sudden, like they want their jobs back, like they don't have their homes anymore.
You know, the
um
families, the wives.
yeah, like it's like everybody is Tom Hanks from Castaway, best case scenario.
And then one of my friends mentioned, what if you were dating someone and then uh you blip back and they're an adult and you're still a kid?
Yeah, it's
That could
messed
get,
up.
yeah, it's
Like,
I feel like
it's
no one talked about that enough back when it first happened because that's always bothered me. Just
right.
the fact that like everyone coming back
That's
was
what
going to have.
WandaVision's for.
Well, see, that's what angers me about the fact that they didn't go on with Agents of Shield. That would have been beautiful for Agents of Shield to deal with in their final season.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But that's just my. I hate the whole blip thing. Annoys me. Like I know he loved his daughter, but like he could have like kept his daughter or something, or just like moved. I don't know. I feel like there was a better way to do the blip. Like you said, it was
It
great for story, but it was awful for like
well,
continuing this universe.
I mean, one of the things I love about it is now, like, because it's been 5 years, the population has somewhat regenerated itself. I'm sorry, it has. Like, we not a lot of people are just popping out one kid. Um, so bringing those people back, the population is going from what, I don't know what in the universe it's supposed to be like.
I mean, there's technically like 6 point some billion humans, and you cut it in half, then it's probably
Okay,
about
so
9 point something billion humans after the blip happens.
yeah, so all of a sudden you have power vacuums, you have
But so yeah, kings and congressmen and like delegates were like fucking blipped back, and suddenly like they're out of a
yeah,
job. Like, what are you
yeah.
gonna do if you like you have
So
a monarchy and like
unemployment's through the roof. Think about all of the people that were considered dead, like insurance companies crashing. It's just an economic disaster. And when you have an economic disaster, at least in these kind of stories, um, crime goes up. And so suddenly we have this rationalization, like they're talking about in Spider Man 3, having Daredevil come back. Like the street level heroes are going to make a lot more sense when you've had half the heroes gone and the other half sad and depressed, except for Ronan, who's out there killing everybody like a psychopath. Like all of a sudden, we have a world that needs street heroes more than ever.
I
So
wonder if Falcon and Winter
I think
Soldier's gonna
that's,
cover that,
I think it is. Like suddenly, Falcon and Winter Soldier seems really interesting to me
right?
because there's real sociological, just yeah, the whole world's changed in a way that Thor's hammer can't fix.
Yeah, it's. I'm curious to see how Marvel moves on with dealing with that.
No, it's just saying, like suddenly things like Lavania is like, it could have risen in the last 5 years. Like instead of it being an imaginary country, it could be that a country in Europe fell apart, and now like you know part of Romania is Lavania, and now we have Doom. Like it's a really good way to kind of cause things to come into place instead of it just being like, oh yeah, the Mandarin's been here the whole time. He's just been in the shadows.
That is true. That would be a clever way to introduce some
The
else.
hornet's nest is stirred up.
But yeah, so yeah, start just straight off the bat. Episode 4 hit us with the blip and the fallout from that, which was needed. That was necessary.
Yeah.
Uh, we got the confirmation that Geraldine was Monica Rambeau, which we all knew from the start. We found out her connection with Sword and everything. But then from there, it starts literally walking you through the past 3 episodes, explaining how everything happened. This episode was mainly like it went step by step through the past 3 episodes, pretty much explaining all the weird stuff we saw.
Right.
Which everyone's biggest complaint was nothing's happening. We don't know what's going on. Again, like it goes back to like if we were binge watching this 4 episodes in, we have a pretty good idea what's happening. It hits
Yeah,
different than having to wait week for week.
it's kind of like an entire episode of an M. Night Shyamalan reveal montage. Like, hey, the beekeeper. This is what the beekeeper was. And the plane in the bush. Here's what the plane was. Signs, signs
So
everywhere. Yeah,
as
go ahead.
as much as this episode revealed a lot of stuff, did it really reveal anything?
It um it gave us a little bit of a sense of what's going on with Sword. It introduced us to one of the primary players in the situation, the return of
Woo!
long missed yeah, your lady.
Kat
Kat
Dennings
Dennings,
is my
sorry.
future wife. Yes,
Yes. um,
I am deeply head over heels in love with her.
I really love it when like this kind of goes back to like why I liked Ghost in the Shell too, but like things where you lose the protagonist of a story, or the people that you basically you come to see are out of it, and it's like, well, how can you do another story without them? It's like, well, we'll have the supporting character. It's like the supporting character, but they were a comic relief. And you get to have a story where it's like, no, actually, yeah, 5 years ago, Kat's character was a goofball, but she was an intelligent goofball. And now, not having two people that kind of were far more advanced than her at the time not on the table, and her having to be the one solving stuff, she's very competent. And I really enjoyed that, where she went from just kind of like the hey, I'm an astrophysicist. I like pot and churros. To like, yeah, no, I think the problem is this: get me a TV, and where's my damn coffee? Um, I really enjoyed her. I'm really glad that she's in this show. Um,
Yeah, I like the fact that we're getting some more characters. We're getting some more like exposure to the world and a lot of our theories are kind of being sort of answered. I know the trailer probably does a little better, the mid-season trailer. But we know Wanda's has some semblance of control. We know that
yeah,
she isn't particularly all there in the head.
yeah, she's not doing well.
Um, and the biggest thing we know, people can leave it, like leave Westview.
Yeah, no, like West, it's like it's like the Village of the Damned, with the whole like, if you go into the town like has an effect on you, and then theoretically when everything's over, everyone's going to be pregnant. Um, that's the plot of Village of the Damned, but and all the kids are demonic, uh, but yeah, I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be any more cues to that, like if the kids are going to have like silver hair or some shit. um, but yeah, it is this field where it's like you can pass through it, but it changes you.
So the biggest two mysteries we currently have from episode 4 is A, where's Franklin? And B, well, sub A, why does Franklin have a name? And I mean that as in more often than not, when there's like a random grunt person, they're not gonna have a name. And not so much as a name. It's something you only catch if you watch subtitles. The
Mhm.
subtitles he has a name. Usually it would be like grunt or like guy in suit or something. But the subtitles specifically named him Franklin, and you never see his face.
Gonna pause here real quick. Which one's Franklin?
The beekeeper.
Okay, cool. Proceed.
But yeah, you never see his face, which is a big red flag for me.
I
And
I I thought you saw it when he puts the helmet on.
he's already in the
No,
helmet.
interesting.
You never see his face. Even when like the he like gets out of the thing, it's always way too shadow to even see who he is.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it means anything at all, but just generally, if it was a throwaway character, you would have A saw his face and B the subtitles wouldn't have given him a specific name.
I think another thing in that vein is that we got from the episode is kind of a deduction of who's maybe behind things, in that as the team, sword and FBI and whatnot, um, are watching the television show play out for the first 3 episodes, they're going through with facial recognition software and identifying the real life identities of the cast of the show. And so from that board, we see a lot of people who they really were in the town. Um, what we don't see on that board yet is the neighbor's husband, who we've never seen, and I'm trying to think who else hasn't shown up.
Dottie.
Dottie hasn't. Okay, so they can't. They have not yet identified them, and I think I heard somewhere online that like one argument may be that when we see them pinning names on, they hadn't gotten to the first episode that showed Dottie yet. So that might not be. But the other thing that's curious here is what sends Cat. I mean, uh, Rembo and the FBI agent there is a missing. I mean, a witness protection person that nobody can remember.
Yeah.
So who is that? And I wonder if he was also someone um, blipped because only him and Rambo seem to remember the person, like identify the person's there, recognize that the town's there initially. It's like, why do some people like have no memory? It's totally invisible to them that there was ever this town, and
Well, I think like
they're like,
Rambo
did that ever?
mentioned. I think Rambo mentioned that like if you, it seems like if you have a relationship with someone in that town, a personal relationship, then you forget because that would be, I guess, a reason to go investigate it if you remember that they exist. But if you don't have any
Okay.
reason to ever go there, there's nothing to forget.
Hmm.
But what I was
Interesting.
also wondering about that whole
Yeah.
thing, did the policemen not see anything when they looked behind them? Like was it did they, or was it like a Doctor Who the silence moment where like they just immediately forgot the moment they saw it or stopped looking at it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of like when I was watching it, I was like, so what do they just like as they do their highway patrol, like come up to the town and just do a U-turn? Like, up, that's the end of the road.
Yeah,
Don't
I
know
was
why
waiting
we.
for them to be like, well, look at the sign or something, but they never even tell them to turn around.
Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't want to deal with the cops, but
Um, but yeah,
yeah,
honestly, like this episode, despite how much happened in it, nothing really happened that we hadn't already seen before. We just now know how those things happen.
well, we know. I mean, the new head of Sword is acting very fishy.
True, but honestly, I think anyone who heads up any kind of organization is sus as hell.
Well, yeah, but like, why would you send one of your top agents who just came through all this on a X Files episode mission?
That's fair.
Like, she's a pilot.
And not only a pilot, like the daughter of the founder.
Yeah, it's a weird like job to get her involved with. Also, why is he the only person who like when Kat's trying to explain the like oh, I forget what they're the techno babble, electromagnetic radiation wave, whatever it's called. He's the one who like explains the what the letters stand for. And it's like
Yeah,
from the dawn of the Big Bang. I'm like, really?
which
You
is again super sus.
like that's very and I've seen people online going, oh, he's Mephisto, and I'm like, no, but
That's a
still,
Wonder Woman
there's.
move. I don't think Disney would stoop to that level.
I hope not.
Like they did that
I
shit
do
with
hope.
like the God of War and Wonder Woman, and I hated it.
I know. Like I hope not, but I think we've
He could
been
also
kind of
just be exposed to that kind of stuff, being like the head of a space organization.
ideally, yeah, it would be great if large corporations were run by people that understood what their products do. Um, like, I mean, I guess to an extent, Elon Musk does that, but like, it's the exception.
Because I also immediately thought when she was like, "It's Big Bang," and I was like, "That's that's the stone." But also in this universe, Wanda's powers came from the stone, didn't they? So I'm assuming that's what
Well,
she's sensing is just like the fact that Wanda, like that's supposed to be like your first clue to like it's Wanda's power, was the fact that like
so
the stones came from the Big Bang, the stones gave Wanda her power.
I think essentially what they argued was that the stone replaced her being a mutant.
Yeah,
Um, and now that's going to get retconned, I'm sure, but like in the comics, as you know, her mutant powers do a lot of stuff, but
Yeah,
then she learns witchcraft,
yeah.
like straight up witchcraft on top of her mutant powers, and then like there's other things that get stacked on top of that to make her like House of M powerful. But yeah, like the stuff that's happening in this town, the extent that she has any control over it, whether it's just what we've seen or it is in fact she controls all of it, that's not stone power. Like that's way into something we've never seen her do before. And granted, every time we've seen her, she's been able to, kind of Dragon Ball Z her way up, or now the Flash can run across a waterfall, and now he can go through time, and now he can take friction and throw lightning, and like, there is a sort of like you learn your powers and they escalate, but traditionally she had kind of powers from different sources,
Yeah.
and I think the idea is that the stones just replaced her being a mutant.
Like again, like I said, I love this episode. Like it was a really good
Yeah.
episode. It hella
Oh,
got me more into it, but like it didn't
yeah.
really. All it did was answer some questions that I had. It didn't really set too much more up, other than the fact that like Wanda's in control, but also a little batshit crazy. Also,
Yeah,
might
like
not be in control.
it suggested that Wanda could be the villain. Also, that corpse vision. Ugh.
That yeah, that was a thing.
Like
That
every episode's got like one creepy moment, if not multiple. That one was just like, oh god, she just like took his body and like went to town, and now she's playing, you know, family with a puppeteered corpse. That's
and
kind of
that's what that's
terrifying.
supposed to like mean, right? That she just straight up brought his corpse to this town.
I think so. That's how I took it. Was like, oh god, she's just like, you know, we will never be apart, never.
I do like the like just like I had all the, like earlier before right before we did this finish editing our last video. You straight up said like everything that happened in this episode. You're like it has happened in this episode, or like the show doesn't work. And it just amused me that you're like, yeah, they have to have it in the outside world. They have to answer some questions. It's gonna be more focused. It's gonna be focused on the outside world, not there. And it's like all your predictions from that episode, pretty spot on.
I'm glad that they were spot on, because I honestly believe if I was wrong, then the show would have tanked. Like,
I
and
can't.
not
Yeah,
that I'm
another.
anything brilliant or whatever. It's just like I was like, I see a way for this to be good, and it means they have to do a bare minimum of these things with the next episode. And if they don't do that, I'm gonna start getting bored.
So yeah, another episode of not giving us some answers would have been
Yeah.
painful.
It's just like, at this point in time, we've had too many lost shows,
Yeah,
too many things where it's like, hey, there's a big mystery. We'll never get to the answer, but we're going to keep you wondering with strangeness. And it's like, you know, Twin Peaks, awesome. Lost, not
almost
so good.
awesome.
Uh, or X Files,
Any of those
uh,
shows about people showing back up on a plane, or whatever, the missing, whatever it's called.
yeah, like
There's
I
so many
just,
shows like that. The Event, God, The Event.
yeah, just that's why I kind of was referring to Children of the Damned, because I was like, let's think about like a positive one, because I don't like hardly any of those shows.
You know how I
Um,
feel about not knowing what's going on.
oh, I don't. So yeah, no, I as far as the future goes, I think what they've done is brought us up to speed, and they're like, okay, now we have to deal with Wanda. Now we have to deal with this world. Now we have an idea of the rules and what applies. And the next episode is probably going to be an intervention.
It's like you said last time. Like part one's over. Like we have the setup, we have the intro, we know what's going on. Now we need to figure. Like now we need to know how we're gonna deal with it.
One thing from the trailer, not try to. I know you want to go into these pure, but one thing I think is going to be fun is probably not the next episode, but maybe the episode after that. they'll get to the 90s, and I've seen a few little glimpses from the trailer of that, and it's very like Ally McBeal, Malcolm in the Middle, um, and so I think that's going to be fun because then you're going to have Wanda talking, breaking the fourth wall, talking to the camera.
That yeah, I like where they could go with that. I do. The thing that bothers me is that like it's weird because the episodes are so short. It's really weird to have
Yeah,
an original show that's only half an hour. Because normally original shows tend to be like longer than your average TV show.
I had a theory about that. I I think as the show goes on, so far it's been about the same timestamp each episode, so that's probably what they will do. But I kind of think as we get towards modern television time, they'll go to 45 an hour long episodes
I
or
would love
55.
that.
Like I'm hoping that they'll do that because yeah, that has been a big challenge to the show is just like it feels weird because of all the HBO
And that's the thing about waiting week to week. You were waiting week to week for such a short show.
and just a taste. But yeah, they might not, but just in the same way that they've played with color and aspect ratio and um, different film stocks and different things like that, I kind of expect the last few episodes will play with time.
So going into the future, Capron,
Mhm.
you still in it? You still
Oh yeah,
hooked?
yeah, yeah. I'm still in. I, 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 I kind of came out of that episode. You're saying like there wasn't much that we learned. We did learn some. I'll admit we didn't learn a ton, but I think what we learned was it was more about learning what isn't than what is. Like we didn't get a ton of new information, though some of the things we did, like the aftermath of the snap, like that has huge implications. I think it's more about some of the theories we had that we can now kind of set aside and go, yeah, it's not that. Like, I think the neighbor is still. Sorry, I'm blanking on names, but
Agatha is actually Agnes.
yeah, I think that's going to be the case. There is a Halloween episode coming up, and
Oh, she's dead. I was gonna be dressed as a witch.
she is. Sorry, I'm bad at keeping spoilers.
It's a trailer.
She's
It can't do
straight
that.
up,
Yeah.
yeah, she's straight up dressed as a witch, but it's weird. Like some of those things in the trailers really do suggest that maybe it's not just Wanda or Agnes. Like it does. There's still like a little room for like maybe it is Mephisto or some other weirdness, but yeah, I think it's more kind of the concerns we had that we can kind of set aside now. It's like, okay, not every episode is going to be stuck in TV land. Um, you know, some of the weirdness does have an explanation for itself. The beekeeper and all of that. We know that the beekeeper isn't a reference now to not AIM, but what's the
Hive.
group? Hive, yeah. We know that it's not them at this point. I think it's safe to say that it's probably not some of the commercials. Like it's not. It's probably not going to be Hydra or um, anything like that behind all this. It's it's either Wanda or it's Wanda and something cosmic.
So considering that the trailer is a mid-season finale, that confirms that we're gonna have between 8 and 10 episodes. Which means
Yeah,
honestly the next episode or two, shit's gonna pop off. But my question for you,
yeah.
do you think they're going to fucking punch us in the gut and end this show on a cliffhanger?
Um, I think it is going to set up to multiverse of madness. I I, I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think the money is there going forward. What I'm trying to say is Doctor Strange is totally going to show up at the end of the season.
I'm cool with that.
Like I've heard a few people make that theory, and I'm like, Yep, they can afford it. You look at the stuff they're doing with their shows, the actors they have doing television shows. Um, I don't think there will be like a season two WandaVision. I don't think that that's what they're designing this for. Um, for all the weird things Disney is doing, one of the more interesting ones is I think they are using Disney Plus to make more British modeled shows where it's like you have a one off and it tells a story and has a beginning and an end. And then from that, it might link to a movie or it might link to something else in the MCU. But in of itself, it's not going to have a bunch of seasons. Like I know they're doing that with Star Wars, but I think I, I don't think they'll do that as much with these shows. I might be wrong, but I'm expecting it's a setup to Multiverse of Madness, and then from there, we'll probably just, you know, because Wanda's supposed to be in Multiverse of Madness.
So just to end it off, to keep us interested, to keep us caring, they
Mhm.
have to keep up the same momentum. They have to keep like they can't play softball anymore. They got to go hard and
Yeah.
fast with some of their stuff now. Like we
No,
have
I fully,
6 episodes at the most left. Some stuff has to happen.
yeah, I think it's supposed to be an 8 episode show, so there's really probably only 4 episodes left. I fully expect the next episode is going to be a confrontation with Wanda. And from there, it'll either be another episode on the outside or it's going to be like a 50-50 split. Um, and then an episode, a confrontation episode. But I think unless she is honestly the villain of this show, they need to have some kind of throwdown intervention, whatever, with her that unearths the higher stakes. Like another thing I think we might start seeing is the town grow.
That would be nice. Yeah.
I may be wrong about that, but I think it's going to do kind of an annihilation thing. Because right now the stakes are she has like maybe 30 people hostage, which is bad, but it's not MCU stakes.
I kind of want the next episode to be not even focused on Wanda and Vision, like focused on like the inside Westview, but not on
Mm-hmm.
Wanda and Vision, but the neighbors.
Oh, that reminds me of one other question mark character. One person who is missing from that cork board that a lot of people are wondering about, especially I saw. God, I wish I could think of who this was so I could credit him. But somebody pointed out that the mailman is not on the board. Now, if you're in witness protection, it's usually for giving information. What does the mailman do? Give information. The, the mailman might have some significance,
What do you
but
mean the mail? Why is the mailman relevant?
the mailman appears briefly with Agatha. She goes, "Bang bang, you're
Oh
dead,"
yeah, that's
and he
right.
freaks out and he walks away. And it's just this weird scene. It's one of the few scenes that does not have Wanda or Vision in it in those early episodes, where it's just
That's
like
right.
two town characters, and then he goes away, and we don't really see him again.
This shows the potential to be super fucking clever.
Yeah, no, it's weaponizing Easter eggs in a way that Marvel has very rarely ever done.
And I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's I think the next episode is going to be interesting. It's going to have to be the episode that either Vision confronts Wanda or something happens to start us going down. Well, if it's not Wanda, then what is it? And if it is Wanda, what are we going to do about it? Because I don't think they're going to be able to afford to bring back but so many Avengers to intervene with
Yeah.
Wanda.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing is like Well, what you could, if it is Wanda, well, that's easy. You just bring back like everyone she knows. Oh wait, that would be several $1 million.
Yeah, yeah, just a bit. Well, Capron, as always, it is wonderful
Yes.
talking to you and
Likewise,
conversating. Love hearing your thoughts about the future of WandaVision.
yours as well, Coco. Yours as well.
And I guess we have another episode coming out on Friday, and then we'll be right back
Yes.
here at the cabin talking about that mess.
Yes.
As always, thanks a lot, Capron, and you have a wonderful evening.
You too.